All right, welcome back everybody to session 5 of our 6-week series on Apsona filtering and reporting. Last week we talked about multi-step reporting, and this week we're going to continue. It's a big topic, and I have lots of fun tips and tricks to throw at you. As a reminder, we're stacking these up in a playlist on YouTube. Oh, and I didn't give you the link to that, Rob. I can get that.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
When you can. We're adding these every week, and so at the end of it, it'll be available for folks to come back to. A really good resource that I've already started to use for our support cases, pushing people to these videos for multi-step because they're really concentrated. As a reminder about Apsona, if this is your first intro, Sona in Hindi means gold, and so we call ourselves the Golden App, and it has proven very valuable for many admins throughout the years. We've been on AppExchange since 2011, got thousands of customers, lots of happy super fans, very high ratings on our AppExchange, which if you are in agreement with those folks and would love to leave us a 5-star rating on the AppExchange, it helps us not only with future customers seeing that we're a good app, it also helps us with Salesforce, I think, just kind of showing that we're a great strong force in the ecosystem. We work with any data model, custom managed app, standard objects, we allow for it all. All right, and as I said, today we're going to continue with our multi-step report trainings. So we went through some demo reports last week of talking about the different features of multi-step, and I highlighted them through small example reports, and I'm going to do the same today. So we're just going to keep cruising here. We're going to start out by talking about the combine feature of multi-step. So I'm going to go into Salesforce. I am in the reporting tools tab at the multi-step reporting window. I'm in my reports folder, and these are all the reports that I've been using for various demos. If you ever want to move a report, I don't think I've mentioned this, but there's a little arrow that pops up. It's not very visible until you get your mouse over there, but you can change the folder that a report goes into if you wanted to make it available to everybody or put it into your own report folder so that only you can see it. You can move those around on the report row here. I got a question that asked, is there a way to turn off the feature of sorting by most recent? I am not sure if there's a way to actually change that.
You want me to see if I can look?
You can, yeah, sure. I don't think so, to be honest, but that is a great question. I think that you can reorder them manually, but I don't think that's your question. I think you wanted to kind of change a default, and I don't think that that is possible, but we could try to confirm that. Okay, so we wanted to talk about our combine step. I'm going to go into the edit screen here. So the combine concept in multi-step report is if you have 2 disparate steps and you want to sync them into a single view and combine the data between those 2 steps, sometimes that is a helpful thing to do, and the tool allows for that. So my very simple use case here is I have a list of leads and I have a list of contacts, and they're not related, but they may be representing the same person. So let's say that I want to end up with like a nice clean deduplicated email list that combines leads and contacts. So in my lead step here, I have, name, email, real simple. I don't think I have any filters here. On my contact step, I have similar fields. I got name and email. I don't think I have any filters. And I could potentially link with some data, but that's not really what we're talking about. We want to shrink this to a nice clean list. So I'm not going to do any linkages. What I am going to do is I'm going to add a step, and I'm going to choose down here, combine 2 earlier steps. So when I choose that, I can name it here. I'm going to call it email list. I go into combine rules. You'll note that all these other options go away because this just becomes zoomed in on combining 2 previous steps. So I'm going to take the 2 previous steps, which are here, leads, and then my second step is contacts. So now it has 2 steps to look at, and now it's saying, how do you want to combine this data? Well, first off, let me just, I'm going to delete this step, and I'm going to just run this report with just the 2 steps. Okay, so I've got my 2 steps. I'm going to run it. And because I didn't do any linkages, I see 2 tables. So this first table is my lead table. I have 22 records here. My second table is my contact table, or maybe vice versa. I don't remember. Oh yeah, no, yeah, this is the contacts. 235 records. They're not connected via the linkage. Therefore, they show up as separate tables. So I don't know if I've mentioned that in past calls, but if you run a report and you see it show up as two different tables, it means that either there's no linkage or there's some issue with how they're linked that makes Apsona not able to line them up. And so it shows them separately. So that's often a hint. But because we didn't put a linkage, they're just showing up as separate tables. Okay, so now I'm going to add a combined step. Email list, choose combine earlier steps. I'm going to choose leads and contacts. So now I'm going to pick the fields that I want to combine as common fields. So I'm going to take full name, and I'm going to say from both steps, I want full name and full name to line up, and I'm going to name it full name. I'm going to do the same for email. So I'll just say lead email, contact email. I'm going to call it email. So now we have this third step. I'm not done, but I am going to run it to kind of show you step by step how it happens. So we still have our first two steps, and we have 22, 235. So that would be 257. And we'd indeed see 257 records in a third step. You could see it's starting to look simple. We've just got full name and email, but you will notice, here's an example, Andy Young is on both lists, and he's showing up twice. And that kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to get at, which is a deduplicated single list of people's emails to send them an email, whether they're leads or contacts. So our work isn't done yet. Plus we have all the gobbledygook above, which I actually don't care about because I'm trying to create a combined list. So let's make it cleaner. In our email list step, or in our combined step, if I go back to combine rules and you scroll down, you'll see this hidden but important note here, deduplicate the combined results. So this is going to take those two Andy Youngs that have the exact same information and turn them into just one row. So I have that checked, and I'll save that. Secondly, I don't really care to see leads and contacts, so I'm going to hide those steps. Let's hide that one and hide that one. And I think now we should get a nice clean list. So we have, and it's less than 257, it's 248 because it has deduplicated. We only mapped the full name. We didn't do first and last name because that didn't matter to us. So therefore we don't see those fields. We just see the fields that we matched up together. So there we have it. That is the concept of combining. Let's go back to our list and let's see what we want to do next. Non-ID linkages. Okay, non-ID linkages. So as we've talked about last week, you can link your various steps in order to get your data to show up in a line. But it doesn't have to be an ID. I will say that ID is best, and I'm going to just talk a little bit more about that. I might be repeating myself. I apologize. We're doing these once a week, so I might forget, but I want to just highlight a couple things. The best fields to use for linking are ID fields, whether it's an actual ID field on the record or it's a lookup field. And I just want to talk a little bit more about that because this does trip people up. Any field you see with a key icon is an ID field. So I'm on the account step and I see account ID. That's the ID of that actual record. Over here on the right, if I click the drop down, I'm going to see a little bit about this field. I think I've mentioned before that you can rename fields here, but it tells you what object the field's from, the type of field it is here. It says string, and then the output field, this says ID. So this tells us that this is an actual ID field, and it's important to see that to know that it's an ID field, and you'll also see the key icon. In the contact step here, when I go to retrieve fields, I have the account lookup from the contact, which is a different kind of field. It's a lookup field, and you'll see that it has a little linkage icon, and we see that the data type is reference. So reference essentially is synonymous with lookup. So when you're on the contact record and you see the account name and it's a hyperlink, that's a lookup field to a different record. So just want to call that out. Those are really important pieces. Those are the best kind of linkages to use because they're really solid. They're unique identifiers, and they have that quality of like kind of defining a record. But you can use non-ID fields. So here I have an example of, I wanted to show the contacts in the various states. That was just kind of the idea that I came up with. So I have account states, the billing state shown here. And then a second step, I have contacts, and I've got the name of the contact, but I also have the mailing state of the contact on the contact record. And if I go to linkages, I'll pull this out real quick. I do have the ability to use, this is just, a text field to connect two steps. So this is great, so that you don't have to stick to a linkage. If you're trying to group things in different ways or link things together in different ways, you can use just text fields or other types of fields to link. So I'm going to say that the account state matches the contact state. Save and run it, and I should get, we got our states here, AZ, and these are all the contacts whose mailing state is also AZ, and then California down here. So that's just a quick example of how to group via non-ID linkages. Yeah,
we have 3 questions that were back on the previous example that you were using.
If you want to combine but see both emails, would you show the step in the blocks? In blocks. Oh, I see. So I think what you're saying, Laura, and if you want to unmute Laura to
Sure, give me 1 second.
I think you're saying like you wanna see maybe, maybe Laura, maybe say it a little bit more so that I can help.
So to see the rows deduplicated, so Andy Young is in 1 row, but we see maybe 2 columns of email. So yeah, so we see both emails still.
Yeah, so you want to, so I guess if it's the same name, but the contact and lead has a different email, you would like to see the name and the 2 different emails next to each other. Does that sound right?
Because I assume it's just choosing the top row for email.
Well, what I'm doing when I do the combine step is I am kind of saying like, I imagine that the email on both sides is going to be the same. And so I want to show it as a single record. I think if I were wanting to see different, assuming there might be a different email on either side, but I still consider it the same person, I might actually do a linkage on the name and then show the emails next to each other. So for example, in other words, I don't think that I can do what you're asking with a combined step, but I believe what I could do is say contact, let's say full name matches full name. And then what we could do here is get rid of these names because they're going to muddy things up. We'll keep the email here for the contact. Let me save this step. Oh, I think because I messed with this report, it's here. Let's get that hide out of there. We'll get that hide out of there. Let's leave that one alone. Let me save this really quick. Now let me link. That is linked. Let me okay, we're good there. Let me also go to the lead step. I'm going to take the first and last out. So now I have a single common field that's being linked, which is the full name. And then I have the independent fields email. And if we run this for Andy, here we go. If he had a different email on both sides, we would see the common name because we've linked via that, and we'd see the different emails. We can see here that Bertha is only a lead and is not a contact because it's blank, and Bertha's not in that contact list. Does that help? Okay, excellent. And did we have other questions?
Yes, we do. Julie, I'm going to, Julie had a question. Can you add another step with linkages to the combined step?
Let's see here. Records that don't have the same name. Okay, so can we add linkages after the combined step?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. I think so, but I'm not actually 100%. Let's just double check here what we can do. Opportunity. Let's throw the account up there and save it. Make a step there. Let me get the account for the contact, save that. And let's link to the contact account and let's see what it looks like. I'm just not sure exactly how this is all going to turn out. Okay, so we did link the leads and contacts already. We have opportunities linked and we have our combined step down here. So because the combined step is kind of its own thing, it's showing up as its own table. So our purposes of this report are starting to kind of cross, but it does look that technically we can add more steps and link them still. I think the cleanliness and readability of the report is going to come down to how we order things.
So, but it looks like it's not linking it to the combined step, it's linking it.
Yeah, so I specifically linked it to a previous step. I don't believe, I think you're saying, can we link it back to the email list? So let's say like opportunity, if I can get another email here, let's see if I can go down to, let's try losing this step. And let's add an opportunity contact step. And let's get an email. And we'll just pull in. I just want to get another field in here. Create a date just to have a field on there, because this one's going to be used to link. And let's save this really quick. And let's, oh yeah, we can email to email. So let's try this out. Oh, cannot find email in step email list. What did I do wrong here? Cancel that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cancel out of the whole report. Email list, combine rules. I have an email field. And I see that I have the ability, but it's not. I might have to follow up on that. It looks available, but then I'm getting this error. So I might have to double check. That's a great question, though. I would like to know the answer to. If other people know the answer, definitely throw it in the chat.
We have 2 more questions. Do you have time for them?
Let's see. I think I think it makes sense to keep this all on the recording. Let's keep cruising.
Okay, so Carolyn, let me unmute her 1 second. Was asking about combining more than 2 steps. Is that supported?
I'm not 100% sure. And there's also, I think the way it works, and let's just play with it. I think the way it works is you kind of like, you can combine a previous combined step to a previous step. But in terms of more than 3 steps, I don't think you can do that right out of the gate. So let's play around here. Let's get rid of this. Let's say, let's just use opportunity contact role. Let us get the full name of the contact. We've got the contact email. We'll get rid of this. We save, and I'm going to move this up. Save it. And then combine rules. Yeah, I think it's a 2-step thing. But let's try this now. Let's try. Let's try adding another combined step. Let's call it a combined step. And let's say up contact roles to email list using the same thing, full name, email, or deduplicating. And we unhid those, but let me actually try to like make this a little cleaner. We're gonna hide leads. We're gonna hide contacts. We're gonna hide this. And I don't know if I can, oh, I think I can hide it. Let's see what we get. Okay. Contacts linked to hidden previous step leads. Okay, let's get rid of that linkage because that was against kind of the original purpose. Save that. Okay. And I think we've got this covered here. Let's see if we can run it now. Okay, it looks like we do have one single list, 248. I'd have to like, I don't have data to confirm the accuracy here, but I think because we didn't get errors and we're getting a single list, I think that it worked. So I think that's the step, is you do a cascading combine. And I think you can keep going.
She said nice. She can't unmute today, so she said nice, and she gave you the thumbs up.
Yay.
And
awesome.
Melissa has a question. It says, linking by full name only works if we have records that don't have the same name, ?
Hey, Melissa.
Hey.
So linking by full name only works if we have records that don't have the same name.
Yeah,
I think
so if you have like 2 John Smiths,
oh,
link by full name, that could be a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I think
Okay.
I was just trying to kind of like figure things out on the fly, but yeah,
Sure.
you're right. If
Cool.
you're using something as basic as name, you're going to run into problems.
Okay, cool. Could you show us that cascading step one more time? Thanks.
Yeah, so so the first combine rule is taking 2 true steps, actual like object searches, leads and contacts, and it creates the email list, which in and of itself is just a combined step. The second time I use it, I'm not grabbing a previous actual step. Well, I am, but I'm also grabbing the previous combine. So I'm taking the email list results, the combined list results, adding another object being the opportunity contact role, and then creating another combined list. So you could just kind of keep doing that. Like, I'm going to add another object, object.
I thought maybe there was a cascading checkbox I was missing.
Oh, no. Yeah, it just sees email list as one of the previous steps and just takes the data and accepts it.
Perfect. Thanks.
Cool. Absolutely. All right. This is great. Thank you all for jumping in. Okay, so we did talk about non-ID linkages. Let's talk about multiple linkages. And then I'm going to go into a bunch of kind of tips and tricks. And I would also love y'all to speak up if you have other things, because there's lots of nooks and crannies to multi-step report. Multiple linkages. This is one of the weaker points for myself. So I'm going to show it, but I may struggle a little bit with questions. It is technically possible to link to 2 previous steps in your linkages so that you can kind of further qualify the results. So in this example, I have a campaign member step. I've gotten the contact, which is a lookup. I can see it's a reference here. And I've got just a campaign of the campaign member. No filters, nothing funky. I have an opportunity step that is also connected to a campaign, and I'm getting the opportunity ID itself. And I don't think I'm linked. Oh, I am linking. So I'm saying, okay, I want to see that the opportunity has the same campaign as the person in the campaign member step. They're both linked to the same campaign, so it'll line them up. Then I have a third step, an opportunity contact role step. And I am grabbing the opportunity ID and the contact ID. I can potentially link to both of the previous steps. I could link to, this is not a great example because I don't have a real life use case for it, but I'm just showing structurally, you can link to the opportunity report because I have the opportunity ID in both steps. And I could link to the campaign member step because I have the contact ID in both steps. And then lastly, I have a contact step itself that's grabbing the name of the contact and the contact ID. And I have used that single contact ID in this step right here to relate back to 2 previous steps. So this is where I think I want to just spend more time showing the feature. So I only want to see contacts if the contact ID is in the campaign member step and the opportunity step. And I'm defining that criteria by saying, get records that match all of the above relationships. So if there's an opportunity that has a different contact altogether that's not shown in this step, and then a campaign member that does have a contact that's in this current step, it's not going to provide that contact because it has to connect to both steps. So it's just kind of a further way to like lock down what your results will be by qualifying it by 2 separate searches. You can alternatively say, get records that match any of the above relationships. Choosing any does kind of like open up the doors more. So you could say, as long as I see my contact ID on either of the previous steps, I want to see that contact. The catch will be that it will not necessarily show it in line. So let's keep it as all. And let's just run this. I feel myself getting into the technical weeds that I might not be able to talk my way out of. So I just want to focus on the functionality. And then in terms of like how to apply it, I'd be happy to kind of brainstorm with folks. So let's see here. Do we have any that show up? Oh, wow. This is not a really, I didn't prepare this demo very well because I'm not seeing any contacts here. So let me then just go back and say that if I change this to any, I believe that, let's see what'll happen. I believe we're going to see it in a different table altogether. We can see the contact step is gone from the inline top table, and it puts it down here. So now we're at least getting some returns, and it means that their ID was in one of the previous steps, either the opportunity step or the campaign member step. And it's just showing it in a different table, and that's because it can't properly put things in line because it doesn't know how to line it up with both of the available steps. It can only match it to one, and so it has to just put it kind of separately. So that might cause some confusion. I apologize if it does. I think when you come to a use case where you have a problem that you need solved, and it involves like linking to 2 steps or searching through 2 steps to give you another set of records, you can start thinking, okay, at least I know I can use multiple linkages, and then you have to play around with how to make it work right.